for universal services. We're back. It's been a while since we've had Tech Talk due to the COVID strains and so forth, so we've had to postpone. We had a very special guest for our next episode of Tech Talk that we had to postpone, but we brought him back. And so we're very fortunate enough now to have my boss and a boss of many of you and our new county administrator, Mr. David Berry. And so, David, you and I visited, and I wanted to ask right up front, and our folks want to know, perhaps listening from you, why a county administrator? What does a county administrator do, and why is it important for the future of the county?
Great. Well, and first of all, I really appreciate you having me. It's nice to be able to visit a little bit. We're obviously socially distanced and wearing masks when we're going around the office, but it is nice to be able to visit. And I am having a county administrator in Harris County we're 4 months in now, so it's still relatively new. Though that excuse, I'm running out of time to make that excuse. I think it is first and foremost something that I hope allows us to have, and I believe will allow us to have, a more effective government. It's not at all to supplant Commissioners Court. I work for them. No one voted for me, but they are setting policy objectives and strategy. And I view my job working with General Noriega and other department heads and really up and down the county to deliver for them. But having a point of accountability where I can make sure things happen, where if obstacles get in the way of important efforts, and we've just worked through a couple of those recently, I can help remove those obstacles. Yeah. So that, in short, is what I'm here to do, and my office is here to do, is help court carry out their goals, and then support the team to remove obstacles and help them achieve their objectives.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of folks out there understanding the governance makeup and the leadership makeup is super helpful. But I think that what I shared with you a moment ago, what is overlooked, and our colleagues in the field that are tuning in today, I think, reach up high, pat yourself on the back. You and I have been working for the county, and many of our colleagues in the county have been working now this next early spring, 2 years, in a global pandemic environment for the 4th largest county in the United States. And that's an amazing thing to say. And so you've taken on the helm of this leadership of this in an unprecedented circumstance, situation, and time.
That it is amazing. And I would say, while there's no substitute to being able to visit with people and look them in the eye, I have been amazed at the progress we've been able to make and the relationships that we've been able to forge while largely interacting virtually. And that's true of a lot of the county, but it's also true, and I don't forget, that not all of us can work virtually. And we have many people on the front lines of providing customer service who have been taking health risks. Obviously, I'm committed, and the county is committed to keeping you as safe as possible. But I think we both have to be proud of how innovative we've been in working in a different circumstance, and recognize the people who have taken extra risk to keep serving in person and on the front lines, and what's been a difficult and now very long time.
No, that's a good point. And I of course want to take a moment of personal privilege, like our fleet folks, our folks that are infrastructure folks in the field that never missed a day of work. And I say this to keep the county running, everybody in their own way contributing what they need to do, but to your point, assuming a lot of risk. And so I continue to, plead with my colleagues, if they can, without restrictions, please get vaccinated, or the booster and whatnot. We continue to hear the same news stories, and we're not going to get past this if we don't protect ourselves and people we love. But all that's a really good segue, I think, to talk a little bit about, and Tech Talk, some of the things that we're doing collaboratively. And again, all of our team, 500 plus employees at Universal Service, thank you for your leadership and helping us get through some of those obstacles as we try to make the county better. What I wanted to visit with you real quick on that has been, so a year ago, December, we inherited, well, no, this is what I wanted to visit with first, because this is kind of our 5-meter target. And it has to do with this idea of changing the fiscal year with PeopleSoft. And so as you and I both have been informed, we got about 14 weeks till the end of this fiscal year. And then we go into a 7-month fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start anew in October of 23. Is that right?
That's right.
Can you share a little bit about some of the challenges and what we need to do departmentally? And
well, first
everybody
let me start with why, because this can sound like a pretty technical or wonky thing that doesn't really matter to people. But I've been pushing it, and as you know, pushing the team, because it's actually a little thing that makes a big difference. Because in the past, the way the county has worked is we've set a budget in March, and then Commissioner's Court has voted on the tax rate in September. And so we've actually had budgets without the tax rates behind it to support them. And what the fiscal year change will let us do, and let my principals do, is vote on taxes and spending at the same time. And that's good government, because you gotta have revenue to pay for expenses. It's fiscally responsible. And it's also good for employees, because as we start new initiatives, bring new people on, I want to do that with certainty that the resources are there to back it, rather than, sort of a wait and see approach.
Well, it makes all the business sense in the world. And that's why we want to thank you when we were telling you, ringing the alarm, hey, we're concerned about where we are in this process. We've got a lot of work to do with our key departments and so forth. And so I threw this slide up here just to talk about current status. With your support, we've conducted the kickoff to really do, for lack of a better term, our gap analysis with some of our key stakeholders, the auditor's office, purchasing, OMB, et cetera. And so we're decisively engaged right now to make sure that this is a smooth transition as possible. I understand what in other FY changes with PeopleSoft, as I've been told by some of the experts, what gets you is those outliers. That's where we're going to get the help desk ticket calls and things of that nature. So to the degree that we can eliminate most of the big stuff, problems with our big users and where the fiscal year has a big impact on the county, we're decisively working on that, and we're researching. And you got a report this week, as I did, from the auditor's office that was fairly favorable about understanding their processes.
And I would just, in addition to this topic of the fiscal year, compliment you and your team that the PeopleSoft implementation and rollout wasn't perfect. It's not a perfect system either, but it's a good system that a lot of organizations use. And I was really pleased the other day. Some simple, easy to understand material went on how to get trained on PeopleSoft. Quickly, efficiently, 5-10 minute videos. I think making it easier for our workforce to use PeopleSoft, and like this effort, making sure changes in PeopleSoft don't interrupt the business. I think it's a better place than we were. There's still more work to do, but I just want to compliment you and say thank you for pushing that forward.
Well, thank you, and I'll shout out to Rena Fava for her team and others of going back and really trying to make sure that we had the training products for all of our colleagues out in the field. Another quick topic. Next slide, please, Jamal. You got that? Okay, so another interesting project that we're collectively working on, established last fall by Commissioner's Court, and we received the tasking because of the need because of COVID, interoperability, communication, education focused, that we made sure that for access purposes and kids and schools and whatnot, they had broadband access. So I wanted to brag on our team here too, and infrastructure and all of our partners, county library, and you'll see in a moment, community partners. I just wanted to show you here, Dave. Go back one to the map again, if you could, Jamal, because I just wanted to show a smattering of there. across the county of accessibility. I mean, all the way up near Hockley to your far northwest corner, all the way down to Baytown and critically, communities that were needing this particular service. And our team are continuing to work with some projects for expansion. But I just wanted to share with you, within a year's time, what's been built for the purposes of access. And our commissioners have been great in terms of their support. They continue to give us more opportunities with physical structures to magnify signals in their area. And so I wanted to share this slide with you, Dave. I know that you're fully aware of, but when it's going good, you don't hear much about it, right? It's only when
that's true. Many of the things Universal
Right.
Services does, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only when it's broke. Yeah. Next slide, please. And I did want to give a shout out to our ISD partners across the county that are helping us significantly to get signal out there for kids. As you and I visited just a moment ago, this COVID thing, probably this environment that we're working in, it may shift somewhat, but we're really in this environment for a while.
We are, and I'd like to highlight that this broadband effort hits on a lot of themes that I think are important for how the county should work, and it's putting people and data and equity at the center of how we provide services. People, because this isn't about the infrastructure, it's about the people who need it to thrive and survive in a pandemic environment, and generally. It's about data because we really looked at where is the need. We didn't just say, let's build the infrastructure. We said, let's build it where it's most needed. And equity because, well, I proposed to Commissioners Court and they adopted some guidelines. And to boil it down, equity for this purpose means striving for equal outcome and opportunity for people, right? And so it's not just, hey, let's build the infrastructure. It's let's see who needs help, who needs something from us, from their government, to have equal outcomes and opportunities. So it's a great effort. Yeah. I'm proud of what we've done.
Well, I am too. I'll tell you, some of the data that we're collecting now, though the signal was primarily focused for an educational, purpose, right? We are seeing folks get online if they drive up to one of the community centers in a precinct, as an example, for the purposes of filling out a job application, or where do I go get my COVID shot, for information of how to access or to schedule an appointment of some type. So those other collateral goodness effects, we're starting to see as a result of having this infrastructure. Commissioner Cagle likes to call it building the highway in the sky, if you will, which is an infrastructure function of the county. And so part of our efforts with this broadband is also because the court was good enough to create this office, is looking at, can you put the next slide up, please, Jamal? Is looking at the long-term roadmap. What's it going to be in 5 years? And so our Office of Broadband, led by John Spear, Robert Foster, Lori, Karen, are really getting out in front of this, understanding what the federal government's doing in this lane. We're collaborating with the state of Texas. They now have a very aggressive broadband effort. So I just wanted to share with you what your team is doing too in this space. Anything?
I mean, I think it's the right direction. And I also think as we see more investment in broadband at different levels, at the state level, at the federal level, hope with an infrastructure plan, it's fantastic for the county to have a strategic vision, because, we personally will never have enough financial resources to fully bridge the digital divide in Harris County. But if we understand the problem, we will, I think, position ourselves to both find resources coming from other levels and put them to the best use. So I think that's a double dividend of this, is we're going to be ready for the next rounds of investment coming from the state and federal government.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it aligns with part of your vision and what we're trying to implement, which is a connected county, because then the collection of data just affects so many different, from flooding to pollution to on healthcare, on and on and on. What do we have next, Jamal? We wanted to visit about 311. This is
I'm excited about this. I'm excited.
Yeah. So this is a real quick update for our colleagues in the field of where we are. We're already, of course, on receiving 311 calls, have a reciprocal. If someone's calling for a Houston purpose, we transfer. They can dial 1 if you want to reach Houston, kind of thing. We had the cloud-based call center approved this past. Thank you for your help with that, Dave. On this past Tuesday, on the cloud-based telephony piece, which is going to allow us to build knowledge, mobility of applications, just a whole lot of efficiencies. We're doing a lot of paper recording right now that will now be in the cloud and help us be smarter. And then the real important piece of this is that you've been on several of those calls with us, with the county commissioners and the departments. How are they receiving the idea?
Overall, great, and I've been pleased. I mean, I think there was something of a tradition of the county, of each department is its own silo, runs its own operation. And I think we're starting to see a real shift there, which we've been talking about, and I've been talking about, but it's just talk until we start doing it. And I have seen departments that report to me, but also elected officials, many of them, be open to, hey, this could better serve the public, and this could better serve our customers, and it can help us be more efficient internally. And that's exciting to me. We got a lot to deliver on this. It's not time to declare victory, but both the planning and the technological efforts and the reception has been really encouraging to me.
Yeah. Well, this, I think, to your point, really does. It's a vehicle for removing those silos, or starting to break those silos down. Just like the Ascent effort with public health, I think, is another vehicle, a programmatic vehicle that's going to allow us to use shared data for, AI into the future and things of that nature.
And I think, like everything, it's important to think about it from the perspective of the public, of who we serve. When they call 311 or whoever they call, they don't care which department they're talking to, right? They don't care whether they're talking to the city of Houston or a smaller city or Harris County. They want someone to help them. And if we can more effectively get them to what they need and make sure we follow up and do what we need to do, I think that is a huge win for county government and exactly what we should be doing.
In addition to that, I think that we're really making sure, and talking to the precincts and departments, that we build the trust we have a responsibility with the precincts. If Mrs. Smith wants to talk to, Jimmy in certain department or in certain precincts, then Mrs. Smith is going to get to talk to Jimmy. And that personal thing is important. I mean, for, not forgetting where you come from, so that we can continue to be.
I think that's right. And this is not about having a centralized county where every customer service interaction goes through one point. It's about, and this is your phrase, having a smart county, right? Where we have a smart system to allow people to provide customer service with their own brand, in their own way, with their own personal touch. And I don't think those things are in conflict.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I want to make sure that everybody knows we're asking for your questions on our chat area. We're going to be taking those questions here and probably about the next 2 or 3 minutes. So please start submitting your questions. So for Dave, anything that he can help clarify or thoughts and vision moving forward. But I did want to also mention one other area effort that we're working on. This was one of the slides that you shared on Tuesday, an additional pilot that we're building on with after we saw the success of pollution control and the 19 vehicles that they deployed, and we helped with the build out of charging stations there off of I-10. But here's kind of the next iteration of a pilot that we see that we're going to figure out how to action this in the near future. And you were talking about electric vehicles earlier. And what your shared thoughts about this?
Well, I think the study that we worked on, it was with a firm called EIQ and a local nonprofit consortium, is a great example of the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and the public sector coming together. And it both outlined a bigger opportunity that in the next few years, the county could buy 1,400 electric vehicles and save $10 million. So both make us a leader in the clean energy economy, as we have been in the traditional energy economy, and save money at the same time, which is a fantastic opportunity. But I also like that there's a concrete next step, right? Because we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time as a county to have big, ambitious, long-term goals and bite off the little chunks that we can get done sooner than later. So I look forward to seeing this and also continuing to build the vision of really being a leader with our own fleet and a leader in building regional infrastructure for the change that's coming.
No, we're excited about this. Our mechanics, led by Jim Smith over in our fleet area, are already going through training. We've had multiple mechanics that are ensuring that they're certified in preparation for the next phase of this work. So we're excited too.
And I just want to say part of this study and part of the effort going forward will be really learning what departments use their vehicles and how they fit into service, because this is, I'm a big fan of electric vehicles. I think it's important to reduce our greenhouse gas footprint. It's one of Commissioner's Court priority outcomes, but we can never compromise service, right? So this is an effort like 311, like I hope many other countywide efforts, that we want to be sure that this improves service rather than causing any issues there. So now and then we get a little pushback, and I don't like pushback. If it's we're not going to change, we don't change. If it's pushback, I need to make sure this lets me do what I need to do to serve the public. That kind of pushback is always legitimate, and it's always welcome, and we'll work through it.
We're the same way here, Dave. I mean, it's constructive recommendations and making sure that we're getting better. We over here at Universal Service, we certainly don't have all the answers, and so we're always learning. At the same time, if there is an identified issue, please bring constructive recommendations to fix it. Otherwise, put it in the suggestion box.
Well, I like to talk, and you like to talk, but let's get some questions here.
Yes, sir. Got it right now. Here's one. What technology initiatives are you most excited about?
We've hit on a couple of them: broadband, electric vehicles, if you want to call that technology, making PeopleSoft and other enterprise applications into something that makes people more effective rather than less effective, and the topic of data management, because I think there's so much more the county can do and needs to do on collecting data, on organizing it, and then turning it into something actionable that can actually help people, like we did, for example, on broadband. So that is an effort that I am passionate about, and I look forward to moving forward with you.
Sounds good. How do you see, you kind of already touched on this, but a question about how do you see technology shaping the county's future?
One thing is it helps us be more efficient, because we're fortunate. We haven't lost money. We still have stable revenues. We've had some federal help, but we're going to have to do more with the same, is the reality, because our constituents need a lot. So technology is one way we can be more efficient. It's a way we can provide better service. An example of that would be 311. And by using data more, I think we can provide better service, and constantly be looking at what we're doing to truly have a best practice. Because the best practice isn't doing what we always are doing. It's constantly looking at the data and making changes where we need to make changes.
And you brought up a good point that is probably a whole nother episode, which is data.
We'll have to do a repeat at some point.
Big data. What does that mean? Where are we headed with it, and why it's important for the purposes of governance and et cetera, et cetera. That is a whole nother big area that we didn't tackle today, but we look forward to visiting about it. So here's one. Are there any plans in 2022 for more centralization of services?
There's no paradigm shift that I see. I look at it less as centralization and more as providing smart infrastructure and smart practices. So yes, we're going to work on EVs. Yes, we're going to work on 311. Yes, we're going to work on data management. We're working on cybersecurity, for example. So, some people might call those centralized initiatives, and they're not wrong. But I look at it as having a smart and effective county, not totally changing how the county provides services.
All right. Here's one. I might jump in, but I want to. This person would like to know: are there plans to expand access to education programs that might get people into tech or tech digital literacy?
And do you know, I don't know if we can ask follow-ups, is that with respect to the county workforce or with respect to serving the public, or both?
I would just say, perhaps both.
Yeah. Well, certainly one of the things we're looking at doing with ARPA funds, those are the federal stimulus funds, is workforce development. And technology is obviously an area where there's a chance to rapidly upskill people. Now, we want to make sure, though, that we're not providing something that's already provided, because there are a lot of great programs out there, but helping people who need a little helping hand to get where they need to be. And on the topic of our own workforce, look, cultivating the best workforce is, I think, the key to the county's success. And we can certainly do more to provide more training to employees. We mentioned PeopleSoft the other day. And I certainly have a vision of employees being able to build up credentials, right? And if they build up those credentials and skills, that'll help them succeed in their job in the county. Might help them do another job in the county someday. And if they ever move on, it'll help them be successful there. And I'm really committed to people growing in their skills while they're at the county, not just collecting a paycheck.
Absolutely. Amina, I just want to mention to your question too, if you call Christian here in our HR department, she's our talent manager person. We're building a partnership with University of Houston School of Technology, and she may be able to provide some additional information for you.
And on that, I'm sorry, on that topic, if folks watching have ideas for specific training and upskilling they think the county should focus on, let us know. You can send me an email, you can send the general an email, let your department head know. But I think this is something that needs to work two ways. It's not just us telling you what you need to learn, it's you telling us what do you need to learn to be successful.
This is just a shout out to you from Pollution Control Services. They've been utilizing EV fleet since early this year, and thank you for your support. So
you're welcome.
Last question here. How will you promote the long view at the county?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Coming on Tech Talk.
Well, technology is part of the long view. A lot of that is having goals and writing them down and measuring them, because it's one thing to work on a project. It's another thing to have a long-term goal to make people better off. And so I've assisted Commissioners Court in writing down their goals, having a series of goal statements. We defined some priority outcomes that are now at the center of the budget process. How are we going to make people better off? So the short answer to that question, and maybe I'd love to provide a longer answer at some point, is by setting goals of how we're going to make people better off, by measuring that over time, and then by taking these projects we're working on, these individual projects, and putting them against those bigger goals, because some of the needs we have are going to be generational, but we can't let that stand in the way of making progress as quickly as we can.
Well said. Any holiday wishes before we sign off?
Absolutely. Happy holidays to everyone, no matter which holidays you celebrate. A lot of us are going to be working hard right up to the holidays, but I hope you can take at least a few days, if not more, to spend time with your family. And as we push through the new year, let's come back absolutely revved up and ready to go.
We want to thank Dave Berry for joining us on Tech Talk, even though we've had to postpone it. It was well worth the wait. I second David's well wishes for the holidays, and thank you all for joining us today for Tech Talk. Stay tuned for our next edition. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for having me.